What's up, everybody? Welcome to Are You Down with LPT, the podcast where agents like you share their stories, experiences, and insights to help each other level up and thrive. In every episode, we're diving deep into the real-life challenges, wins, and lessons from the front lines. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just getting started, this is the place to connect, learn, and grow together. So, if you're ready to get down with LPT and take your game to the next level, let's jump in. Welcome back to Are You Down with LPT? I'm here today with Tony Martinez. How you doing, Tony?
I'm wonderful. Thank you for having me.
Good. And we just got done with the class today. Did a fantastic job and heard amazing things from our agents about what a wonderful job you did. But for those maybe that weren't there today, why don't you give us a little bit brief introduction? Tell us who you are.
Sure. Well, thank you again for not only letting me be on the podcast, but also letting me, come in and speak with your agents. Yeah. It was a full day. We had kind of like a double header, right? So we started the morning with the ultimate listing presentation, and we shared a lot of tips and tricks, including how to use the LPT marketing material.
Yeah, and a lot of our agents probably have not, they haven't jumped in on the box fully yet, as you probably...
I picked up on that.
Picked up on that, yeah. Yeah. But we want them to, because it's a great resource.
Oh, unbelievable. Yeah. It's such an amazing tool, and to not use it it just makes no sense. So I think that's going to change. I think you're going to have a lot of them using it now going forward. And then in the afternoon, we talked about pre-foreclosures and how your agents can get engaged in this arena and help folks that are struggling right now to make their mortgage payments and facing foreclosure.
Yeah. So foreclosures is really where I want to, talk about. We talked on the car ride over that, it's a topic that I don't think a lot of agents hear from a speaker or, follow, very much, and probably should be. And so what's the forecast or, why foreclosures? Because if you look, we went into COVID and foreclosures, we barely talked about it.
Right.
What's the national outlook right now on foreclosures?
It depends on who you want to believe.
Yeah.
On one side, you have the doom and gloom, the world's coming to an end, real estate's going to collapse, and I'm not in that camp at all. And I think we have to be very careful and suspect of the folks that are doing that. What is their agenda? But I'm also not in the camp that has their head buried in the sand as though there isn't a problem and there aren't people going through foreclosures. The thing that makes the most sense to me, or doesn't make any sense to me, is when people ask me, are foreclosures back? And I go, well, they never left. It's just they were never, we haven't had them in the numbers that we had in 2008, 9, and 10 during the great financial crisis, but they never left. And then people will say, yeah, but, is it going to be as bad as it was before? And my response is, well, for someone going through it, it's bad enough.
Good. Yeah.
I don't expect it to be anywhere near as bad as it was. There's some industry experts that believe it is. I'm not in that camp, nor am I trying to forecast too much the future. I focus on the now and the situation now and the opportunities that are there for agents that want to engage in this segment.
So you showed a graph, and the graph kind of showed 8, 9, 10, the financial crisis that we were in. And then it kind of paused a little bit with the foreclosures, but the graph kind of shows a slow, steady rise, really to somewhere maybe pre-COVID. Is that kind of accurate?
We're not there in pre-COVID yet. We still have a little bit to go. And that could be several factors. I mean, the moratoriums have all gone away now, but there were some patches where it was still available. But there's been a lot of assistance provided to homeowners, especially FHA homeowners and VA homeowners that have kept a lot of them outside of foreclosure. Those either are gone away or going away. So I do expect an uptick in those numbers. And there's no reason to believe that we shouldn't go back to at least pre-COVID numbers.
Yeah. So you're South Florida. That's a little different than Iowa, right? I mean,
not at all.
Experience a lot of the same things that we do in Central Iowa. Are there trends, whether it's nationally or Iowa, that we as agents should be on the lookout or just keep our eyes open for?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the first thing that folks in Iowa, real estate professionals in Iowa, need to know is that you're in 12th position. Iowa's 12th in the country in foreclosures. Now, I saw the look in the eyes of the agents today, and it was news to a lot of them there. Yep. Because if this is something that you have not been following, it's just kind of like, what? I didn't know we were that high in the spectrum. So, I mean, that's a lot of folks. Now, granted, you don't have the same number of people living here that you do in some other areas, but as a percentage of the homes and owners, you're up there. Yep. And it could be several different factors that are contributing to it. So I think that agents need to pay attention, not on a national scale. It's on the state and on the county and the city level, what is happening in the markets that they serve.
Yeah. So you appreciate that. You've been around real estate for a long time, a lot of the education side of things as well. Like, how did you start down this path of, dealing with foreclosures and teaching about them and all that?
Well, listen, I'll try to keep it under 5 hours.
Yeah,
so,
okay.
Yeah, so what happens is back in 2008, we were struggling. I drank from the same Kool-Aid jar that so many other people did and got in trouble. Not proud of it, but I'd like to be transparent and say, look, a lot of the folks that were in trouble back in the day were real estate agents themselves. I found myself with no other choice but to get a real job. And I was blessed enough to go to work for the couple that started the Certified Distressed Property Expert designation. Lo and behold, the last thing I ever expected was to be a speaker for them, but sure enough, they gave me an opportunity. It's something that I seem to do okay with. And next thing you know, that's what I did for 2.5 years. And from there, I went into the brokerage side of things, but I never, ever lost the passion for working with people in distress.
Well, because it was real to you, right? I mean, that's part of your story that you went through it. We have a very similar story. We haven't talked about this, but I was in real estate and I hit rock bottom during that time. And I too went looking for a real job. And probably like you, I was fortunate enough to stay in the real estate space. Like I became a trainer and educator and taught real estate for 3 years after having my 3 worst years in real estate. But I think it's those lessons during that time that if you learn from them, you come out better on the other side, right? I mean, you feel that way?
Well, I mean, had that not happened, I never would have been introduced to the CDPE.
Yep.
I don't know where I would have been, because not only from that, what a lot of folks don't know is that 4 years ago, I acquired that program, that training program. Yep. So I started off working for them. As chance would have it, so many years later, I got an opportunity to purchase it and bring it back because it had closed down. So I am where I am today in part because of the mistakes that I made. Yeah. Not that I would encourage anybody to go through it, but sometimes you go through those things and it turns out to be the best thing that could have happened.
Yeah, and you come from a position of authority because you went through it. So, I appreciate you being open and honest about that. So talk about the CDPE. Yeah. Like, okay, if I'm sitting here listening, a lot of people, they weren't there today. What is it? I mean, what does it stand for?
Well, I'll tell you what it's not. It's not the COPD, which we get that a lot. I mean, almost every day someone will call me, hey, I'm a COPD. And I'm like, I'm so sorry to hear that, dude. It's got to be rough. And we joke about this, but the initials stand for Certified Distressed Property Expert. And essentially, it's a course teaching agents. It's not for the consumers. It's not for investors. It's for real estate professionals on how to engage individuals that are losing their home. They're facing foreclosure, and they really don't know what to do. I sum it up as a pre-foreclosure / short sales training. If somebody has equity and they can't afford to stay, well, we teach the agents how to engage with them, how to go ahead and hopefully convince them that selling the property and exiting with dignity is in the best interest for them. And for those that are underwater, meaning they owe more on their mortgage or mortgages than they can sell the home for, we teach them A through Z what they need to do in order to do a short sale transaction for them.
It was interesting when you were talking today because I looked through, I've got 11 active listings that I'm the listing agent on, and 7 of those fell somewhere where we're selling their house for significantly less than they bought it for just a couple of years ago. They are going to come up owing money at closing. They are already talking to a bank because 2 of them are already talking to a bank because they can't make payments. And so that's when it kind of hit me. I'm like, this is here. I mean, it's real. I remember 8, 9, 10 doing all those short sales, and I mean, that was a part of my business to make it. Is like, hey, and we had to help people kind of through that. But it hit me today sitting there like, this is real. This is right now. And So you talk about it. What is that kind of what led to the relaunch? I think 2021, is that when this relaunched?
I bought it in 2021 is because I had a flash of what I saw coming in the future. When the government offered people the ability to not make their monthly payments and have no penalty whatsoever, I knew it was going to be used and abused. That was called forbearance, right? So here you are, you're told, listen, doesn't matter whether you can afford it or not, don't make your payments for 6 months, 12 months, 18, 24. And I just had this flash. I knew a significant percentage of the 8+ million people that took advantage of that were not ever going to remember that they have to pay that money back someday. And that's what's coming up to bite so many people. That's exactly what happened. And so, we didn't know what was going to happen during COVID. Were we going to be locked down forever? Will you ever be at a chance to go work again? We knew that businesses closed and everything else. And I felt, well, we need this training again. And that's when I found out the CDP had closed down. And then I approached them, acquired it, and we brought it back June of 2021.
Yeah, and seems, it's relevant again, right? I mean, that's been my experience just thinking through my head today.
It's one of those things where it wasn't front page news for many years, and it still isn't.
Yeah.
You saw today I showed a graph of a guy with his head in the sand.
Yeah.
And I used that to kind of illustrate that that's our industry, by and large, is still our industry, especially certain leadership within the industry. That's why I'm so blessed that we're part of LPT, and Robert Palmer and the executives, they saw it, they see it, they want the agents to know about it, and they've endorsed and support the CDPE. But yeah, unfortunately, a lot of people just don't get it yet. What concerns me is how many people are not being helped between now and the time that they do get it. And by the time they get it, maybe it's too late. Maybe it's too late for them, because I think now is an opportunity for them to get a head start. You saw the number of hands that didn't go up today.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot of folks not engaged in this area. Why would you wait until it becomes a popular thing? Why wouldn't you want to be at the very tip? So that's the challenge that you and I have as leaders. Is we know we want people to do what's in their best interest. We just have to present it to them, and they decide.
I think it was a statistic, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but 11 to 13%, somewhere in there, FHA mortgages.
Yeah. Depending on who you believe, it's at least 11%. It might be as high as 13%. And that's a problem.
Yeah, that's significant either, whatever number it is.
Yeah. Now, when you make the comparison to what the subprime mortgages were back in 2008, 9, and 10, that delinquency rate was 25%. When you make that comparison, you go, it's not as bad. But I like to look at it this way. If your child has 104 fever, you're afraid. Mm-hmm. If they go down to 102, one could argue it's not that bad. Yeah. Well, it's bad enough. Yeah. It's still 102. Yeah. And that's my concern, is that 1 in 10 FHA mortgages is delinquent right now. Yeah. We should be concerned about that.
For sure. So one thing I don't think our agents, and as we talk about our agents here, legacy at LPT, understanding the foreclosure process and its impact in general, can you, plain terms, and short, sweet, talk us through that process?
Yeah, well, there are laws and regulations to protect the homeowners. Mm-hmm. Iowa is a judicial state, which means that the foreclosures have to go through the court system. Everything begins with the first missed payment. I like to call it day 31. At day 31, they're officially in default. Now, the government has told the servicers you have to wait until they're at least 120 days in default before you can begin any collection action against them. So it's important for an agent in Iowa to become familiar with the Iowa process. I always call it homework. But Iowa does have some steps in between to give the homeowner as much opportunity to cure the problem as possible. But sadly, by the time people get that many months behind, usually it's going to end up in the courts in some kind of foreclosure. Mm-hmm. What we have to do as real estate professionals is try to reach them early enough that we can get that property on the market, sold, and closed before the auction date. That's the critical thing. It's game over once the auction happens. So we got to work backwards from there. And unfortunately, a lot of people wait until the last moment to reach out to one of us. So the agents do need to know what they're doing, because it's kind of like triage. Somebody comes in and it's like, how much time do you have before your sale date? I got 3 days. Yeah. Okay, let's not freak out. Let's implement a strategy. And you surround yourself with the team that you need. You don't do this alone. You surround yourself with a very competent team, and together everyone pulls their load. And hopefully we're going to get this person to avoid foreclosure through a regular sale or through a short sale.
Yeah. You had talked about, we run into some sellers who are like, no big deal, whatever, let it go, I'm out of here. Yeah, as agents, I think it's important to us to understand and know this, but what are some of the longer term consequences for a homeowner?
That's a great question. You know, a lot of homeowners just simply want it to end, but it really doesn't end with losing a home. So the first thing I tell is, listen, the impact on your credit report is going to be significant. A foreclosure stays on your record for 7 years, and actually a bankruptcy 10 years. And then what happens is, if they ever want to buy a home again in the future, they may not be able to get a traditional loan for 5 to 7 years. But what they don't know is, if you help them through a short sale, they might qualify in as little as 2 to 3 years. They can lose their job because their job does not allow them to have a foreclosure on their record. They may not be hired at the job they want because of said record. If they have a security clearance, you know what? They may lose that security clearance and then ultimately lose the job. In Iowa, they could pursue a deficiency judgment, meaning the lenders can go after them afterward for what was not recovered. You know, when you put all that together, there's some significant negative consequences that can all be avoided if we just get to them in time and convince them that, you know, let's get the property for sale. I know everybody wants to be able to stay in their home, but if that's not feasible, try to convince them with 3 words: exit with dignity.
Yeah. So as agents, I mean, having that knowledge, but being able to walk them through the process is a big part of it, because easy for me to say, oh, you're in trouble. Well, I mean, I need to know that, right?
Yeah.
As an agent, I need to understand what needs to take place. Alternatives. So, you know, you mentioned short sales there, but as me as an agent, I'm sitting down, my client on the other side of this table. What are some alternatives for them?
Well, I break it up into 2 parts there. What are the alternatives to try to stay in your home? And it's imperative that we as CDPs always do everything we can to make sure that they've explored every available option to stay. Mm-hmm. Sadly, most can't, but we have to cross those lists. Mm-hmm. Can they reinstate the loan by getting caught up on the payments? Well, maybe that's doable if they're only 2 or 3 months behind. If they're more behind and they can't get caught up in one lump sum, can they work out something with the bank so that they can pay it over 2 or 3 years? That's called forbearance. Now, in both those scenarios, they have to have a conversation with the bank. So we have to ask them, have you even spoken to the bank about your scenario? Maybe they qualify for a loan modification. Many don't, because you can't get a new loan if you're not employed. Right? And so a loan modification, if they have a 3% interest rate right now and they modify their loan and they have a new one that has a 6.5% interest, how is that benefiting them? So those are primarily the ways that you try to see if they've explored being able to stay in the home. Work out something with the bank so that they can stay in the property. Mm-hmm. Now, most people, by the time they actually reach out to a real estate agent, are far beyond that stage. So then it leaves them with, what options do you have for exiting? And foreclosure is one of them, but that's the worst thing that can happen. Mm-hmm. Agents need to ask simple questions. How much do you owe on the property? How many loans do you have? And verify. Because there's a lot of folks this time around that have equity. They're losing their homes. But unlike 2008, 9, and 10, they actually have some equity. Well, why would you want that to be eaten up by the bank fees? Sell it for whatever you can and walk away. But if they're underwater, they owe more, then the option is a short sale.
Yeah, and you mentioned this, or you asked our group, and we kind of failed to give you a correct answer, I think, or maybe we got it eventually, but what's maybe the most important or first thing that has to take place with a short sale?
Yeah, it's confusing. It's confusing. See, I have a list of 23 questions that I provide my members, and so that they can not sit there and ask 23 questions. That'll drive the person nuts. But the first question when somebody reaches out to you asking for help is simple. Is your property currently listed with another brokerage? You want to trust and verify. You want to trust but verify. Mm-hmm. So they may be reaching out to you because the agent that they have right now has no clue what they're doing, and they saw one of your ads, somebody told them you were amazing at this, and they reach out to you, and we want to help them, but we forget to ask a very simple question. Mm-hmm. Hey, you're not already listed with somebody else, are you? Mm-hmm. And then the second question is, do you have a sale date? because we need to know if we have enough time or how much time do we have. Then part of the questions is, how much do you owe? Do you have more than one mortgage? Because what happens is many of them don't even know that they're underwater. So back to your question, you don't even talk short sales unless you are 100% convinced, proof that they are underwater, that a traditional sale would not work. And at that point, we have to see if they are an ideal candidate for a short sale.
Yeah, that's good. So I want to shift a little bit as our agents out here. We might run into this. Maybe we run into a client and they're in that position, and so we need knowledge that way. But I think there's some that have a desire to help, and that this might be an avenue in which they can help people, but two, they can grow their business. And so if we're thinking along that lines and like, hey, this is an area where I want to grow my business, where do I start? What are some effective ways agents can connect with distressed homeowners?
Well, let me answer it this way. Do you want the agents to connect with or without the proper training? Yeah, because because right now if somebody says, well, where do I find this list? Well, it's public record. Just check the courthouse. They're there. There are services you can subscribe to.
You talked about Red X.
Red X and such, yeah. So that's not a secret. It's out there. My concern is that most agents don't know what to say, how to say it, and when to say it. And I always say, just because you can doesn't mean you should. Everyone that's licensed as a real estate agent can do a short sale. Doesn't mean they should, because it's very complicated and it sets them up for potential liability if it's not done properly. I always seek someone that has a heart to serve, a desire to get engaged in this, but also is tempered by getting the right training so that they get off to the best possible footing. Yep. And I'm a little biased in that area. I believe my training is best suited, but a lot of times agents want to, skip over. Don't. Get the right training so that you don't miss opportunities from the onset.
So you talked about, hosting webinars, seminars. What does that look like? I'm sure that's part of the training that you give. But.
Yeah, because there's a whole section on lead generation, right?
Okay.
And there's so many different things they can do. One of the ideas that I've been championing, but it's just not resonating yet, because let's face it, it requires an agent to step outside their comfort zone. But I think that putting on foreclosure prevention Zooms or webinars are a fantastic way to reach a broad audience. If you do it here in your office, and you have gorgeous offices here, people may not want to physically come in and be around people that know their business.
Yeah.
But if we do it in a Zoom format, you can market it throughout the entire state, right? And then we can go ahead and provide folks with information. And the way to do it is not, let me show you how you can sell your home. No, let me show you what's available for either saving your home or exiting with dignity. And then in an hour and 15 minutes, you can go through the options for staying, and when that's not available, for exiting. So I've been a big proponent of agents taking the initiative and putting these on. Yeah. Because it's so cost effective to do it, right? And you can reach, and then the beautiful part about doing it as a Zoom, who cares if there's only 3 or 4 people on the call? You record it, and now you can use that content over and over again.
Yep. Any agents you've seen this do with some success?
Yeah, one gentleman in particular, he's out of Hawaii. And what's amazing about him is Hawaii's in 39th position when it comes to foreclosures, yet this guy's killing it with short sales because every month he does a stop foreclosure webinar. And that's what he's known for. Now, he needs to get the people on the webinar, so he's making phone calls, they're doing social media ads, they're sending direct mail pieces to people on the list, they're doing any and everything that they need, but they're having tremendous success with that.
Yeah. Okay, so CDPE designation, is there somebody wants to do it, signs up for it? Is there ongoing training or support that they can find in there?
Yeah, we are a private designation. I always like to put that out there. So we're not affiliated with NAR. As I mentioned, I'm biased. I think we're the best in the pre-foreclosure short sale space. The training comprises of a course, right? And they can take it online on demand. It's about 6.5 hours, 6.25 hours. Or they can do it by Zoom. Maybe every month, every other month, I'll do a virtual version over 2 days, 3.5 hours. Whichever way they do it, At the end, they're now earned a designation, and then the fun begins because their membership starts, and it's a yearly membership. After the first year, it's only $99 a year, 27 cents a day. But it's what we give them. We give them access to so many tools in the resources area, our forms, our disclosures, our checklists. We try to do training on a regular basis with experts, whether an industry experts or foreclosure specialist, someone, and we record these just like you and I are doing right now, and we make it available to them. We have a private Facebook group because they're going to have questions along the way, and I personally can't take those questions from 1,500 members, right?
Yep.
But they post it in that Facebook group, and usually I'll answer it, or another knowledgeable CDP will answer it. So it really is a movement. I like to call what we're doing, we're kind of like putting the band back together, getting that movement going. And it's a community of collaborating, like-minded professionals.
Yeah. So if someone is interested, what's first step?
Well, I mean, we have a very special program being with LPT. I don't know if we mentioned that, but I kind of alluded to it earlier. I'm with LPT as well.
Yeah.
I'm a team leader as well. So obviously I want to take care of my fellow agents. So instead of the $499, which is the cost of the course, which includes the first year, LPT agents get it for only $299. So that's a significant discount. And I know times are hard. I even said, guys, we'll even split it up over 3 months for you if that helps you get started. I'm just trying to help people get started. So I think that's the best way. I mean, we have a Zoom class coming up May 28th and 29th. So anyone that's listening to this before that, what I offered your agents today was a 2-for-1. They could sign up for the online on-demand and then still have access to the Zoom version, the 28th and 29th, at no additional charge. Yeah. So if I were the agent, I'd knock out the online one, write up all the questions that I could not answer in that environment, and then be on the Zoom call, listen to it again, because there's so much content. It's like taking a sip of water from a fire hose, They need to hear it more than once, and then on the Zoom they can ask questions. Yep. So I think that's the best course. They just need to do it.
Well, where do they do it? Where can they go?
Well, I think that we have special QR codes for our LPT brothers and sisters that if you just go to the website directly, they're not going to see that. Okay. So if they've been active on the LPT Facebook group, you see me posting there all the time. But I think the safest thing for them to do is send a simple email to support@cdpe.com, support@cdpe.com, or call 954-889-7878. You know what? I may not even know the number. I mean, I'm having one of those moments.
We'll get the email.
889-5858. 954-889-5858. Wow, it's been a long day.
We'll get a song to it. Yeah. Call Jenny.
And they can go ahead and say, hey, listen, I heard Tony's thing, and I'd like to get the link to sign up. And then just tell us, you want to just pay the $299 or do you want the 3 payment option? Yep. And we'll send you the appropriate link.
That's awesome. It's good information. A couple more questions for you here.
Sure.
One, if I'm going to South Florida and we're going to have a good time, what are we doing?
Well, it depends. Are you married or not?
I'm married, yeah.
Okay. Then there's no such thing. You go to Disney World and you spend $5,000.
That sounds like a good time.
No, listen, Florida's a unique place.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an acquired taste. I'm over here experiencing this weather here, and I love it. It's chilly, everything else. Right now it's like 90 and hot, sweaty. But we have so many different attractions. I tell you what they should do. What we're really, really famous for right now is the Guitar Hotel. You may have heard it. Is
this in Miami? Where is this at?
This is actually in Hollywood, which is Broward County, right? So the Seminoles, Indians, they own the Hard Rock Casino and everything else. They built a hotel that looks like a guitar. It has become so famous. People come from all over the world just to see the guitar because it lights up in many different colors, and then like the guitar handle, since they could not have the handle because planes might hit it. They have lights that shoot up into the sky that looks like it's a guitar. So whether you like casino environment or not, they have amazing restaurants, amazing nightclubs in there, and
even for married guys.
Yeah, even for married guys. It's a special section where you just sit in the corner and do what you're told.
Yeah.
That's the married guy section.
All right, yeah. I'll check it out when I'm down there.
And then the shopping is unbelievable.
Yeah.
There's a place out there called Sawgrass Mills in Broward County that every shop you can imagine is there, and people come from South America all the time, and they're walking around that mall with suitcases. They didn't show up with those suitcases. They bought the suitcases there because they're going to fill it up with clothes and go back. So it's amazing.
And my wife would do that, so she'd enjoy it. Tony, appreciate it. Thank you. Great having you here today, and this is valuable information for our team as well. And I look forward to staying connected.
Absolutely. I think we got a good thing going here. Let's keep in touch.
Absolutely. Thanks,
Thank you, sir.
That's a wrap for today's episode of Are You Down with LPT? Thank you so much for tuning in. We hope you get some valuable takeaways to apply to your journey. New episodes drop every Friday, so make sure to subscribe so you never miss out. And hey, if you have your own story you'd like to share or questions you'd like to dive into, hit us up. Until next time, stay down with LPT and keep leveling up. Catch you in the next one.